Hey everyone, I'm Mr. Big Noodle, and in this video I'm going to be going over my deck profile of the deck that I used to get top 4 at the recent Patreon exclusive World Championship Qualifier 2. As you see here, I was playing Gravekeepers, so let's just get right into the deck. So this is the deck here. I actually only played maybe like 5 games with Gravekeepers before the day before the tournament. Then the day before the tournament, I played for like 6 hours with Gravekeepers, just testing out different builds. I was practicing with Ghost Rider 15, and he helped me out a little bit with tweaking this deck, just like a couple cards in the main deck, mostly with the side deck he helped me with, which the side... well, I'll get into the side deck later, but yeah, so... the main inspiration with this deck was actually Delinquent's recent zombie deck, where he used 3 Berserk Gorilla, 3 Kaiku, and then he also used 3 Tribute to the Doomed. And so I used that for some inspiration here. So I went 3 Berserk Gorilla and 3 Kaiku as well. So let's just start here with Berserk Gorilla. So Berserk Gorilla is extremely strong, way stronger than you might expect. You know, you'll know all the reasons why it's strong, but people just underestimate how important that is. Just the fact that it can get over Kaiku and it can get over Skilled Dark Magician. So if you're versing a warrior deck, 90% of the time you can get over all of their monsters. The only time you can't get over a monster is when they have Blade Knight, but half the time Blade Knight doesn't even have its effect going, so it's not even at 2000. So yeah, Berserk Gorilla gets over pretty much every monster, every level 4 monster that people play. And, you just never put it in defense mode, so, it never gets destroyed, and, you always attack with it anyways. And, I don't know, there's not really much to say about Berserk Gorilla. It's just it's a beater at 2000 attack. It's really good. Next, Breaker, just obvious. And then I have a very small warrior engine here, just Don Saluk, Exiled Force, and 1 reinforcement of the army. So I actually did not like Don Saluk, although I did use his effect a couple times, and I can't remember how important those discards were, but I bet they were somewhat important. But I feel like, most of the time I didn't get his effect off, and I had him in my hand, and my opponent had like a Kaiku or something, or my opponent had a Gravekeeper Spy or something that I couldn't attack over, and it was just kind of a dead card in my hand a lot of times. So in my updated build, I definitely replaced this with a DD Warrior Lady. Then I have Exiled Force here. Exiled Force was fine as well. Exiled Force not quite as good without Premature Burial and Call of the Haunted, because that gives it a little bit more versatility. But it's still good. I still need to be able to get over my opponent's spies and my opponent's 2000 attack Blade Knights and stuff. And then if they somehow manage to get a Chaos Monster or BLS onto the field, then it works, it helps destroy those as well. Next we got this. It's actually a very small Gravekeeper package, you may notice here. It's Gravekeepers, but it only plays 6 Gravekeepers and only 3 Necrohalley, which I think is actually really good, because Gravekeepers in and of themselves aren't amazing. They kind of need a little bit of help. What's really amazing is Necrovalley. Necrovalley is what really makes Gravekeepers super strong. Same with Gravekeeper Spy, which is why most people just play Spy in their Chaos deck. So you don't need to go ham and just have a whole deck filled with Gravekeepers, especially because the good Gravekeepers, there aren't that many great Gravekeepers. There's a big fall off, First of all, Spy is the best, hands down, not even close. And then second is an extremely close toss-up between these two, Assailant and Spear Soldier, but both of them are nowhere near as good as Spy. And then third best, there's Guard. I didn't play Guard in here. I don't really love it. If you're playing Tsukiyomi, then it's good to have a Guard. But, balancing out a monster back to my opponent's hand, I usually don't like doing that because they still keep the monster. They can discard it with Graceful Charity. They can discard it for card destruction. They get to summon it again next turn. So I don't really usually love things like Compulse or Gravekeeper's Guard. But yeah, in this I used Gravekeeper's Assailant and 2 Spear Soldier. I think it might be better to have 2 Assailant and 1 Spear Soldier. So in the tournament, I actually special summoned Assailant with my own spy. And then I had 2 spies on the field. I summoned Assailant. My opponent had Ninja Grandmaster Sasuke or whatever. And then he stopped my attack or something. I can't remember. But then he used Snatch Steal on my Assailant. And that's one thing people might not realize, is that people can use your own Assailant against you, because Assailant destroys my spies, while if they use Snatch Steal on a Spear Soldier, they couldn't use it to destroy my spies, right? And that pretty much, that lost me the whole game. I lost that game. I only lost, it's a double elimination, and both my losses were against warriors. And one of the losses, it was game 2 or something, I lost pretty much because I summoned Night Assailant and they used Snatch Steal, and I didn't have a Book of Moon to stop their Snatch Steal. So that's one thing that's a little iffy about Assailant. It might be better than Spear Soldier, because it can. This is one of the monsters that can destroy Blade Knight, right? It puts Blade Knight in defense position, so it can destroy it. But it's a little risky, And then there's Spear Soldier. Also, Assailant doesn't get his effect unless Necro's on the field, and I'm not playing Terraforming, so he doesn't have his effect all the time. Well, Spear Soldier does have his effect all the time, although his effect isn't really that good if he's only at 1500 attack. But I mean, it still does some damage. If you destroy a Takoichi and you do 500 damage, I mean, that's 500 damage. Late game, a lot of times people are less than 500 damage, and if you would have just done 500 damage earlier on in that game, you would have won, right? So every little bit of damage does count. Plus, if you're attacking a Scapegoat, then they both do the same amount of damage if Necro Valley's on the field. But if Necro Valley's not on the field, you'll still do 1500 damage with Spear Soldier. But, Assailant is one of the only monsters that actually destroys, like, Blade Knights and my opponent's Berserker Gorillas and stuff. So, I'm going to try 2 Assailants. Let's move on here. Let's go Gravekeeper's Spy, obviously just extremely good. Kaiku. Now, one reason why people might be a little bit hesitant to play Kaiku is, because you can't banish with Kaiku's effect while you have Necro Valley on the field. And that's why so many people have just never even tried it. But here's the thing. That doesn't matter. What matters is not letting your opponent summon a Chaos Monster or a Blackluster Soldier, right? So you don't need to banish your opponent's cards. You just have to have Kaiku on the field to use his secondary effect to stop your opponent from special summoning, right? So the overlap between Necro and Kaiku is actually extremely important and extremely good. Because if you have Necro Valley on the field and Kaiku, they have to destroy both of those cards before they can summon a Chaos Sorcerer or a BLS, right? Which is huge. So yeah, Kaiku is an extremely powerful card with Necro Valley, even though you can't use one of his effects. But I mean, half the time you don't even have Necro Valley on the field anyways, so you can use his effect half the time. But yeah, the overlap is super, super important. Next, you got Sinister Serpent and Tribe Infecting Virus. So Sinister Serpent was okay. He was decent, like a solid 7 out of 10, I guess. I never got him when I used Graceful Charity, so I didn't get his effect off there. And I don't have any other cards that discard except for Tribe Infecting Virus, and I don't think I used him with Tribe Infecting Virus. Maybe like once. Maybe. So using him as discard fodder wasn't that useful. Although one time it was my only card in my hand, and then my opponent used Delinquent Duo, and it was my only card in my hand, discarded it, and that was a really funny moment, and that was on the live stream on GoatFormat.com's YouTube channel. So that was pretty funny. So it paid for itself just for that. So that was cool. And then, it is nice. I did use him quite a few times where I brought him back to my hand, and set him, and they never knocked him, and it saved me for a couple turns. But then again, a guard would have done like the same thing, right? So Serpent was okay. I don't know. It would be better with more discard cards, obviously. Next, you got Tribe Infecting Virus. Really, really strong card. One thing that's a little iffy about it, though, is that all of your monsters are spellcasters except for Berserk Gorilla. So let's say you want to use it to get over to destroy your opponent's spies. You're going to destroy your own Gravekeepers as well if you have Gravekeepers on the field. So that's a little scary. But it's still like an amazing card that destroys any monster my opponent has, you know. So it's still a really important card. I'm still keeping this card in. Next, we got 3 Book of Moon. I'm not a huge fan of Book of Moon. I almost never play Book of Moon, but in this deck, it seems pretty freaking good. Especially since I have the mind controls to grab my opponents like spies and Dekoichis and merchants and faiths, and I can reuse them, although I don't think I ever did that once, but that is an option. And you can use it on your own spies. When your opponent attacks spy, you use Book of Moon on the spy, the attack still goes through, there's no replay, and then you get to summon another Gravekeeper. That was really, really important. And then I think one time somebody I tried to use Snatch Steal and I used Book of Moon. So it is good. But I don't know. I feel like I could take one out or something. I don't know. Maybe try some other cards. There aren't really that many more options to put in this deck. It was decent. You know. Doom can do Graceful Charity, Heavy Storm. Heavy Storm is extremely good in this deck, even though you're playing Nectar Valley and Royal Decree. Just trust me. People have tried many times to take it out, and it's just not good. You have to have it in. So many times, opening hand, you know, you go second, your opponent sets 2 cards, you know, you Heavy Storm, and then you play Nectar Valley or Decree. Plus, you know, late game, you know, your opponent can use their own Heavy Storm and then set 3 cards, and then you top deck Heavy Storm, and then you destroy all their cards, you know, set cards. So it's really strong. So Mind Control, a lot of people are going to take this out of the deck, but here's the thing: it was the MVP of the deck, and it's hard for people to believe that, but it is. It's so strong. So first of all, the main reason I want to play Mind Control is because so many people play Spy. So basically, this is a way to play 6 Gravekeeper Spy in a way, right? Because opening turn, your opponent usually sets Spy. You grab it with Mind Control, grab your own Gravekeeper with that effect. Crazy strong. Plus, you don't have to play Magician of Faith because you Mind Control your opponent's Magician of Faith. Of course, if you have Nectar Valley already on the field, you can't resolve Magician of Faith. But usually they won't set Magician of Faith if you already have Nectar Valley on the field, right? They'll keep it in their hand, and they'll set like a Dekoichi or something that you can use their effect. But if you don't have Nectar Valley on the field, they will set Faith, and then boom, you grab their Faith. And I grabbed so many Faiths during the tournament. And first of all, Faith stops them from reusing their Trinity cards and lets you use the Trinity card. And, you know, it's super strong. Just comes in clutch. Now, versus Warriors, which is my only losses were against Warriors, it's not amazing, obviously. But it's not as bad as you might think either. Because grabbing your opponent's monster and attacking for 2,000 damage, because they have no, you know, is pretty decent sometimes. You know, that's still 2K. They could be at 2,000 life points, you're late game top decking or something, you know, and then they set, let's say in your hand you have, or let's say you summon Berserk Gorilla, their turn they set like a Donzalug, you top deck Mind Control, you know, and you just Mind Control their Donzalug, attack for 2,000 for game. That happens quite a few times. And then of course, remember, Mind Control also works with Chaos Sorcerer and Blackluster Soldier, right? So I use this multiple times to get, or at least once, but I assume multiple times. I don't have the best memory, but you use it against Chaos Sorcerer and Blackluster Soldier. I definitely used it. I remember setting it one time, and then next turn using it when they summon Chaos. So, like, you're really not afraid of Chaos Sorcerer or BLS in this deck. You have Kaiku, Nectar Valley, and 3 Mind Control to deal with them. So, love Mind Control in this. MST was strong too. A lot of times your opponent just sets 1 card, you know, you don't have a decree yet, and you just MST it, and then you attack over their Kaiku or their Donzalug or something with a Berserk Gorilla, because their set was like a Sakuretsu, so MST was really good. 3 Necro Valley, of course. No terraforming because, you're not playing that many Gravekeepers anyways, so it's not like super, super, super important that you have Necro Valley on the field. And it's kind of cloggy even with 3 sometimes. You already have 3 Decree and 3 Necro Valley. That's a lot of kind of dead cards, because you only need 1 of each to be used at a time. So you don't want, on top of that, a terraforming or another terraforming, blah, 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 right? Nobleman, Pot of Greed, Reinforcement of the Army, 1 of Royal Tribute. So Royal Tribute's not very consistent, and I don't really like it, but I kind of do like it, though. It's just not that consistent, and it definitely takes a lot more skill to play than you might think. You really have to know when to how to time it, when to use it. It didn't help me really in the tournament at all. I think I used it like once or twice, and I just discarded 1 monster, and it was, it was a 1-for-1 basically, and I didn't make them discard like a BLS or anything. It was just some crappy monster. It was a Mystic Swordsman, I think. So it wasn't that good, but the day before the tournament, opening hand, I used it. I discarded 1 monster, and my opponent discarded 4 monsters opening hand. And that was crazy, and that's what made me want to play it, right? And then I tried a version with 3 Royal Tribute, and that didn't really work out either. So I tried 1 in the tournament, and again, it didn't really work out. So it's not very consistent. I cut it for my updated version. But it wasn't absolutely horrible. It was like a 1-for-1. It wasn't like just horrible or anything, just not like a +1 or +2 like you want. And yeah, a lot of times your opponent just doesn't have any monsters. I don't know. Like, people just don't play that many monsters. And if they do, it's like, a Serpent and Thunder Dragon and Knight Assailants, right? Warrior decks don't really play that many. And they have Reinforcement of the Army, which don't get discarded, right? Then we got 3 Decree and Ring of Destruction. Ring of Destruction, I guess, could be swapped for a different trap, like Mirror Force or Torrential, I guess. Torrential might be bad because it works against your own spies. So I threw in Ring of Destruction, and it was good. Couple times, obviously I used Decree and I couldn't use this, but you kind of just keep it in your hand. After your opponent eventually heavy storms, then you can set it. You usually are able to use it. And then Decree, which is an extremely powerful card. Now, I still lost. My only 2 losses were still against Warrior, even though I had Decree, and Decree is so good against Warrior. But I don't know. Decree still helped me a lot in all the other matchups. And, a lot of people play Solemn, but I hate playing Solemn because I always end up killing myself with Solemn because I pay so much life points and yeah, I don't like playing a card where, like, if I use it, I lose because of it. You know what I mean? Like, right there. Or, like, in the next, like, turn or 2. Even though it doesn't happen all the time. But when it does happen, that kind of annoys me, so I don't like playing it. But yeah, Decree was really, really strong. Now, the side deck, this is interesting. So, Cypher Soldier, also known as, a.k.a. Kinetic Soldier, not that good, actually. I think Zombira would be better, because every warrior deck now plays Skilled Dark Magician, which is not a warrior, right? So, I only got him, like, 1 time, I think, during the warrior matchup, and it was like off of Graceful Charity, and I had to like discard him. I got like a Skilled Dark Magician and a Cypher Soldier off Graceful Charity, and I had to discard one of them. And my opponent and it was just like I had to grab Skilled Dark Magician because my opponent could, and then my opponent did top deck a Skilled Dark Magician after that turn, and where the Cypher Soldier would have been destroyed, right? But if the Cypher Soldier was a Zombira, it would have been fine. So I definitely think Zombira is better than Cypher Soldier right now. 3 Skilled Dark Magician's good. It's kind of hard because you kind of take out your own Kaikus and stuff for it, but Kaiku's really good too. So it's okay. Good. I mean, yeah, it's good. It's good. It's fine. It's good. Okay. I don't know. I'm not really an expert in side decking, to be honest. I'm not that good at it. I like to just build my main deck to kind of beat everything. But in this deck, warriors, you got to switch out the noblemans and the mind controls. But these are monsters. You don't really want to just get rid of any of your monsters, right? But I think Zombira would be really good. Brain Control didn't really use it. Lightning Vortex didn't really use it. Nobleman of Extermination. This was, of course, for the Warrior matches. Not the best, to be honest, and I've taken them out since. I think even like a Scapegoat would be better. Even though Scapegoat isn't the best, because sometimes, you do have multiple monsters, because Spy summons other monsters. But with Nobleman of Extermination, like, I think Decree and Heavy Storm and MST and a Breaker is more than enough to deal with their spells and traps, really. You're more worried about their monsters, since you already have so much that deals with their spells and traps. So I don't really love these in the side deck. I switched them out. Prohibition is good. I took out Nico Main King, though, and then I almost lost a match against Empty Jar. So you should definitely keep Nico Main King in your deck, because I wouldn't have got 4th. I would have got like 30th or something, probably, or not, maybe not that low, but I would have done way worse in the tournament if I lost that game, and I almost did. I had to use 2 prohibitions that game for Torrential Tribute and Heavy Storm to stop him from doing his plays, and it did win, but it was kind of scary. So I would definitely put Nico Main King back in the side deck, but Prohibition is good too against those rogue decks. And then Skill Drain, I didn't use Skill Drain, but Skill Drain is really good with Gravekeepers, because they still get their 2,000 attack and whatnot, and their 2,500 defense, with Necro Valley, or 2,000 defense, depending. And then, of course, your Berserker, you don't need his effect, and Kaiku is still an 1,800 beater, or you can throw in Skilled Dark Magician. But I didn't do it in the tournament, so it's okay. I don't know. I haven't really practiced that much with Skill Drain in this. Not myself disable Skill Drain there. Not the best card, not the worst card. I didn't really use it in the tournament. So yeah, that's basically the deck profile. I guess I'll give you a little sneak peek of the updated version, just a little. This is an updated version here, Tsukiyomi, instead of Serpent, DD Warrior Lady instead of the Donzalug. The side deck's a little bit, it's not fully done, but I threw in some Scapegoats and Metamorphosis for the side deck. But yeah, top 4, 4th place, in the tournament. I'm really excited about that. I got 12th place with Zombies at FLC 16, which I'm really excited about. And I'm going to be playing this deck in the next tournament, probably. But I also have some other really fun decks, like a water deck. I have multiple water decks that are really good. And I know I can top a tournament with my water deck, my water chaos decks. And I have a bunch of zombie decks I still want to top with. But this deck has got me the furthest so far, so I'm going to keep playing it a little bit more before I switch over to those other decks. So if you want to see those other decks, I also stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/MrBigNoodle. Link will be down in the description. And make sure to follow me here and subscribe on YouTube as well. I'll be uploading more GOAT format content here. And yeah, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you later.